Really loud. All right, for the recording, welcome back. We are Arya Nagarjuna investigators. It is November 5th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. I'll bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. See them there, gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Deeper down, we know this is what we are meant to become. Learning and meditating on emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so we grow that wish into a longing and into an intention, maybe even a determination. And we turn our minds back to that precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please, please teach me that, show me that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, four lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing this investigation and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing and that we do in sharing in this investigation and the rest. May we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that we do in sharing in this investigation and the rest. May all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. All right, so it's nice to be back. Text wisdom. Yeah. Elsie, start here at the opening, would you please?
Thank you, Mommy. Here I've made a song for you on the very root of the middle way, which I call wisdom. In the language of India, this text is called Prajnanama Mula Madhyamaka Karika. In the language of Tibet, it is known as Uma Sere Sikru Japasura. In English, we call it wisdom, a song on the root of the middle way. I bow down to Manjushri, the glorious gentle voice in his guides as a teenage.
Thank you. And Joanna, please, 1.1.
I bow down to that highest of teachers, to the fully enlightened one, who teaches us how to reach that peace where our fantasies about how things exist are put to a final rest.
And Janet, 1.2.
I bow to the one who taught us that things happen in dependence. Nothing ends and nothing begins. Nothing stops, but nothing ever lasts forever. Nothing comes and nothing goes. No two things are different, nor are any two the same.
Thank you. Are we getting to the point where when we hear the word dependence, we think karma? Like things happen because of karma. So nothing ends, nothing begins, nothing, right? It's all karma making it look that way. And so it works. That's the important piece. And so it works. I don't know, for me, it's just starting to kick in. Elsie.
Nothing grows from itself. Nothing grows from something else. Nothing grows from both, and nothing grows without a cause. There is nothing at all that grows at all.
Not at all, at all.
Not from how we look at it.
Right. Yeah. Sweet. And then in chapter 1, he goes into all the different kinds of ways that our ignorance believes things cause other things. Things come from other things. All the different kinds of causes, cause-effect relationships. And he goes on to show that those can't work. And then as we remember, our Kachik goes, yeah, but. So let's go on. Let me unshare this and go to our chapter 14 and 15. Sorry, having a senior moment here. Stop share. Start share. Okay. Move us over here. Can get a little bigger. So we left off having finished chapter 14, but let's remember how we got there, because there was that series of chapters about the desire, the desirer, and the desired, addressing our Kachik that keeps saying, I do so exist. Like that's my own interpretation, my own Kachik. Here's something from one chapter. Here's it say, there's no nature to the things I desire. There's no nature to the desire I feel. There's no nature to the one who desires. That was that sequence, chapters 9, 8, 7, 8, 9. I don't remember exactly. And then Kachik keeps hearing, no nature? And we go, so it doesn't exist at all? That's ridiculous, Mr. Nagarjuna, because I do things. It seems like the bottom line we keep coming back to is it can't be true that there's no natures to all of these things, because I have proof that I influence the things of my world because I do things. And so he keeps coming back to this idea of how is it that one thing can influence another thing to cause a third thing to come into being, because that's what's happening when we do anything. Hey, me, here, key in car, turn it on. Now the new thing is the car is running, whereas before it was not. Me, pick up my cup of tea. Now drinking tea is happening and it wasn't before. New things happening. So chapter 14, when we said, I do so have a nature of my own because I am here so that I can do something. He goes, well, let's look to see at what point does the you that's here touch the thing that's there that makes the third thing come into being. Remember that? I have to admit that I had to read the chapter to be able to remember it. And he addresses it by saying, look, take all those three and look at any combination of any two, and they can never, he uses the term touch, they can never interact. And he went, chapter 14 was all the different reasonings why things can't interact. Remember? And then that would be the same for the desirer, the desiring, and the desired, and all the other mental afflictions we have. They all have the same three parts: subject-object interaction between. And how is it that all of those things exist in such a way that they can be there already the way we think that they are, and then come together either in a place or in a moment of time to influence each other? Because if they, right, I don't want to talk through this whole class. I'm working my way to chapter 15. So he goes into being selves and others, right? This is that fun chapter. If you don't have an other, you can't be a one, but without the other, you're not the one. And until there's another, there isn't a you. And until there's a you, there isn't another. So what's really going on here? Right? What's the conclusion? Right? They're all popping up at the same time. So we're all one thing, right? No, that's not right either. We're not all one. To be one thing depends on the other. But how can there be another without there being something else? And if it was something because of that other, you could hardly claim that it was other than it. Right? If for Sarani to be Sumati's wife, there has to be Sumati, the husband. Then it takes both to be either, right? So there always has to be something. And if there's anything, there's three things. Subject, object, interaction between. So we can't be these independently existing things that stuff happens to. We have to be existing in some other way, and thank goodness we know the punchline. But the words of the punchline coming out of my mental seeds, I don't know, we get the words, but come on, how does that really explain it? In a way that we can relate to. This and that can't ever come together. One thing could never touch another. And just as touching could never be, neither toucher nor touched could ever exist. And I would glimpse that he really means literally an independent toucher, touched, and touching can't happen. Even when we water it down and say, oh, not without my seeds. It's like even with seeds, it still is not independent me being touched by independent you. Because that's how the seeds are ripening, right? Independent me touches independent you and something happens independent, not independently, dependent on that. But that's not even happening, coming out of seeds. What's coming out of seeds is just the image. And the image is me, you, interaction happening. But how do we relate to that? And then still get up in the morning and go to work if we have work. So we called chapter 14 an investigation of touching things. And the conclusion is things can't come together. One thing can't touch another, and neither can the toucher nor the touched ever exist. So what does Kachik say? What? Nothing exists? What? I don't exist? Like you with me? All right. So let's go to 15. Stop share. Maybe I can do it from here. Oh, look at that. I've been making my life harder than I needed to. Chapter 15. Sorry. Can exhale, but I can't inhale. Who needs it? Chapter 15, an analysis of the nature of things. How did he get from things don't touch to the nature of things? What do you think?
I just throw a lucky guess.
Okay.
I think if he says when nothing can touch and there's no toucher or nothing to be touched, and Kachik says, okay, then nothing exists at all, then what's there?
Yeah.
And then it's the question of the nature of things. So if they are not existing, what is it then that we experience, kind of thing?
Right. Great guess. I think you're right on. So, Arya Nagarjuna, if you're saying that there's nothing really there and things just shape-shift together, then like what is the nature of anything? How is anything different than anything else? If you're saying everything is just Like it's not me holding the pen, this is just one thing. Then come on, I have to have my own nature in some way in order to interact with this object that has to have its own nature in some way. I mean, maybe we could go back through these chapters and find the different flavors of an emptiness state of mind. First saying things depend upon their causes and conditions, and then things depend upon their parts, and then things have some nature of their own, but the way I interact with them is dependent upon me, mind only. And then, well, they have some nature of their own, and they bring something and I bring something, and the two of us come together, and then no, none of that can work, right? I mean, maybe this is a thing about the 6 flavors. I hadn't thought about that before. Might be another way to reinvestigate our first 15 chapters, because we're still stuck at 15. Anyway, distracted myself. Look, Nagarjuna, if you're saying that really this is all one thing, then, right, that can't be true, because I am different than than a pen. I have to have my own nature. It has to have its own nature. Wouldn't our Kachik say that? That's what you just said. In order to explain experience. Now I'm holding pen and now I'm not. I have to have my own nature. Let's see where he goes. So Janet, would you get us started off, please?
It wouldn't be right for someone's own nature to come from its causes and conditions, because any nature that comes about through causes and conditions would be a fabricated thing.
So we must have said, look, I do so have my own nature, and it doesn't make me or it self-existent because it comes from its own causes and conditions, right? I am me with this body and mind because my parents birthed me and my mind went into that body. And so here I am, right? And all my other causes and conditions that have kept me alive and protected me from dying makes me me. So I am me, right? There had to be a me for all of that to happen. And then his response is, well, you can't say that my own nature comes from its causes and conditions and say that that nature is a real thing, because anything that comes about through causes and conditions is a fabricated thing. What does it mean to be fabricated?
Maybe a functioning thing?
Yeah. But even literally, you take different stuff,
Put it
you put
together.
it all together, and you have another stuff, right? You have a new thing, it's fabricated. But then also sometimes we use the word fabricated, meaning you just fabricated that, right? You made something up, just made up. So I think it works using both definitions of the word fabricated, but I suspect he's using the second. He's wanting us to think of it in the second way, more like I take information and I come to a conclusion when I don't really have direct experience. And so I've fabricated something, like made something up. So if the nature of something is simply fabricated, is it really the nature of the thing? No, because it takes these other things to come up with that nature. What it means to be a nature of something is that the something has that nature independent, like inherent in it. It doesn't need to be fabricated. To have a nature means it is. So it doesn't need causes and conditions. It doesn't need to be fabricated by somebody. It doesn't need to be information put together into something. It's just what it is. That's what it means by a nature. So if he can show to us the fact that what we think is our nature of being me is dependent on anything, then he's showing us that the nature we think we have isn't. And that's scary, right? Because if we really come to the conclusion that I have no nature, what do we become? Right? Which cliff? We fall over the cliff. Well, then how can I exist at all? And I think Nagarjuna would say, you know, that's ridiculous. You won't fall off that cliff, because just by coming to the realization that you have no nature, you won't disappear. Because you never had that nature that you thought you had. So it's not like you're going to realize, oh my gosh, I don't have something. Now I don't have something that I had before. It's that we never had it before. So he might be saying, man, you realize this thing about you don't have a nature and you are liberated. You are free. You don't
So,
disappear. I don't know.
and so it means that we can mold ourselves.
Right,
We can change into something that we want to see.
right. Shows us that availability of ourself, right?
Mm.
Why didn't he just say that chapters ago? I think he did over and over again.
It's just that we missed the point.
Right, I sure did. It wouldn't be right for something. So I've just said, I do so have my own nature, Nagarjuna. My anger is different than love. It has a nature. The one I'm mad at has a nature. The one I love has a nature. Come on, we all have to have natures. That's what makes us different. He goes, well, it wouldn't be right for something's own nature to come from its causes and conditions, because any nature that came about through causes and conditions would be a fabricated thing. Let's see what else he says. Joanna, please.
15.2. The very phrase fabricated nature, how could it ever come to be? Natures are natural, contrived. They don't depend on anything else.
Fabricated nature, that's an oxymoron. Elsie, 15.3.
Thank you, Rama. Since something didn't have a nature, how could there then be something else? We only call it something else if in its nature it is something else.
What?
Hmm.
Suppose something did not have a nature.
How can there be something else?
Yeah, right? I kind of think this is our Kachik saying, come on, if something doesn't have a nature, if the pen has no nature, then how come it's any different than this cup that has no nature? It is a cup, bowl. They have to have natures, don't they? Let's see where he goes. Janet.
Apart from having a nature and apart from being something other than any other thing, how could there ever be a thing? It's when it has a nature, it's when it's unique in itself that you can have a thing.
All right, that's pretty clear, right? Things are different from other things. Things are unique to each other. I mean, unique to themselves. So they have to have natures.
Is this Kachik?
I'm not sure. Huh. Sounds like Kachik. Joanna,
15.5. If a thing could never be, it could never be there. When one thing changes to something else, then people say that thing has gone.
if a thing could never be, it could never not be there. A non-existent thing is not there because it has to be something to not be there. Here's a pen. Now it's not here. What if we had no idea? What if we had no seeds for a pen? Like we just didn't know that was a non-existent. Then could we say that there's no such thing as pens if we don't know pen? No. But when one thing changes to something else, we say that the thing has gone. Meaning the seed that is a seed in it from it disappears when it becomes the sprout that's in it from it. Even as we know that the sprout that's in it from it depended upon the seed and the water and the sunshine in order to become the sprout that's in it from it. But there never was a seed in it from it that is now gone. There was only, he doesn't say it, there's only our concept of seed, sunlight, water, turning into a sprout happening. So it can happen. So when we say the seed disappears when the sprout, the seed is gone by the time of the sprout. It's proof that we believe that the sprout has its own nature, the seed has its own nature, and that there's a thing there that then disappears. And he says that's not, he says if a thing and never mind. So our belief in self-existent things makes us believe that then things that are there go away. I'm not sure the implication of that.
That's a question.
Yeah.
The second part, I think I get a glimpse, but the first one, I don't. The first two lines, I was thinking like the two-headed purple elephant. It's a thing that could never be. My
Right.
mind went into something that really can't exist. But then the second line doesn't make any sense. It could never not be there. It could never be there. But with the double negation, it could never not be there, would mean that there is the two-headed purple. I don't know. I get
No.
stuck in.
Yeah. It means a non-existent thing you can't even establish as being there or not there because it's non-existent.
Okay.
But how that relates to the when one thing changed to something else and people say it's gone, that's what I don't get. I don't get what he's trying to tell us. Recognize that non-existent things are neither there nor that not there. But then we say when one thing changes to another, the first thing is gone. But the thing that we think changed to another is a non-existent thing. So it can't be gone because it was never there.
It could never change.
And yet the seed changed to a sprout. But the self-existent seed didn't change into a self-existent sprout. We know that. It requires sunlight and earth. It requires all those other things. But I think he's already showed us that even those things aren't really what's happening, aren't really the explanation for what's happening. I don't know. Let's go on, see if anything more makes this more clear.
Lama, could we think of it in this way? That if a child becomes an adult, then the child is no longer there because
Right.
it's become an adult. Right. So, but the child, but we can't say that the child never existed, right? Because the child was the one that became the adult. So,
Okay. Because we're thinking the child had the nature of being the child, and that child with its own nature as child interacts with time and world and things. And so now has the nature of being adult, which means the child is now gone because now it's adult. So it doesn't seem like it fits with his phrase, something
the last two lines, I think.
that could never be there. Right? The child is gone once they're adult. But how does it fit with the thing could never be,
Could never
would
not
never
be.
not be either? Because the child with its own nature was never there in the first place, so it's not gone. Doesn't make it there. The adult with their own nature, they're not there either, so they can't disappear either. Because there's nothing to disappear. Well, wait. But my belief in my self-existent me is going to disappear. I do have that belief. But is the me that I'm believing in there? No, never was, never will be.
But maybe it's if you go to the elderly home, we only see the elderly people.
Right,
We never think about there has been a child. Well, maybe we do, but
right,
we have never experienced a child
right,
because they were not close to us at the point where we assume there has been a child. So we
right,
would say the child has been gone and now they are elderly,
right, right,
but we can't even say, has there been a child? I mean, we think there must have been a child
right,
to get the adult, but
right, right. And that child is fabricated by us, right?
yeah, with
Yeah.
its own nature.
With its own nature. Right, right,
And they had some similarity, but they are not there anymore. It is an
exactly.
adult.
And even when they talk about themselves as a child, the one they're telling us about, and the one we're hearing about, we still don't, we're not talking about the same thing, right? Because we can't experience it. We can't experience their memory of themselves the way they're experiencing their memory of themselves. Only our experience of their description of their memory, right? Unique to each of us. And yet without them describing their memory of themselves, we would have no, right, mental image of them as a child.
So I don't know if I should read this, but because I'm going with Entering the Middle Way, Chandra Kirti's, and he's cross-referencing with the sutra on the 10 bhumis.
Okay.
So he thinks that this teaching is sort of about entering the sixth bhumi, and that there's 10 ways of going there. So the 10 methods are called the 10 equalities, and then he's got it in Tibetan, Yampa Nid Q. And they are the equality of having no truly existing characteristics. In other words, all phenomena are equal in the sense that they do not have any truly existing characteristics.
Nice.
Senma Medpa. The equality, second one, the equality of having no defining characteristics or definition. Shanyed Menpa. And the third one, the equality of having the primordial absence of birth from any of the four extremes. Togmar Ki Ba Mepa. So I think that, oh no, it's the next one. The fourth one, the equality of being unborn. Ma ki pa. So that ma ke pa. So that's the one that he's doing this whole text. If things are unborn, they don't arise and then stay and then stop. He's this whole text, according to Chandra Kirti, is about this fourth one. The equality of being absent, benpa, the quality of total purity, dakpa, the equality of having no elaborations or extremes, spropa, mepa, the equality of being beyond acceptance or rejection from the point of view of ultimate truth, langdor mepa, the equality of being illusionary like a dream, a mirage, a scarecrow, an echo, a reflection of moon on the water, the reflection of oneself in the mirror, the magic manifestation, Gyuma. So that's what the King of Concentration Sutra is that one. and the
Right.
equality of being neither real nor unreal. No pa dang, no me pa, the equality of the non-differentiating of entity and non-entity. So this, according to the Dash Humaka Sutra, which is our supporting sutra, the Buddha said, oh, bodhisattvas, a bodhisattva who has just crossed beyond the path of difficult to overcome, meaning the fifth bhumi, will enter the sixth bhumi in 10 different ways. And the name of the sixth bhumi is advancing. So you can say the bodhisattva will advance to the sixth bhumi in 10 different ways at the same time. So, and these 10 methods are called the 10 equalities. So according to Sandra Kurti, who's cross-referencing with that 10, the Dasha Bhumika Sutra,
Right.
he's focusing on that fourth one, that things are unborn. And that's why he keeps coming back to when things change to something, then people say the thing is gone. So he's saying that it can't arise and stay and go. That's his whole premise on this
Good.
text. Just, there are 10 ways of going into that sixth bhumi, but he's really focusing on that for us. Maybe he thinks that's the way, is to focus on one thing, and then we can learn how to enter. But he also makes a statement, if the baby is the baby Buddha, and then it becomes the Buddha, it's the baby Buddha is still the Buddha. So he doesn't think of it. He thinks that that baby Buddha is still the Buddha. He doesn't think there's an arising, a staying, and a saying. And then there's all these teachings about like all the lineage before us, like all the people that helped us. And so we're supposed to meditate on that we're part of that lineage, and we're helping the future people we don't know.
Right.
So um, there's no disconnection between any of that.
Right.
But
There's
yeah. So to me, it's that point of the 10, number 4 of the 10 um let's see, the 10 equalities, the number 4, that
say it again, the number 4.
it's the equality of being unborn.
Mhm.
Ma kipa, that you
Okay.
don't arise, stay, and then die. And then it's like I was thinking about, because the talk, I know you're traveling, but Stanley's talk on Monday was Abhidharma, and it's not the traditional Abhidharma. It's like some middle way Abhidharma, which I didn't realize there were different versions.
No, I didn't
They were
either.
talking they were talking about Poa, and and there were 3. It was again back to those images again. The grass makes the fire. So I was like, oh, fuel and fire. That person comes from its 5 heaps. The fruit seed and the fruit. And then the last one was the servant and the king, that the king's next person is going to be the servant, but if he doesn't let the servant in, then the next thing can't happen, and being attached to your life makes it so you can't happen. And I've wondered, because you and David are much further along, but it can happen at any time, if this is really a consideration about that, that transition and that next life. And maybe I should back off, because maybe we're focusing on that poa moment, of all the things that you're thinking at the moment of death that will catapult you into that next life.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I mean, it's related, because then you think that your you is this thing, but if you're all connected to the all things, then there is no arising and staying and stopping. Then he's basically making the argument you don't see the big picture. But of course we're not seeing the big picture, because we're not omniscient.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well said, well said, well said. All of it.
I wish I knew more about the other commentaries. I wish I knew Jason Kappa's commentary on on Chandrakirti and Buddha Palaya. But
Yeah.
I think that Venerable Upala's text is that. I think her text is about looking at the different ways that people look at this text. So I'm not saying that this is right. I'm not saying that we
Yeah.
are looking at the sixth bhumi, but that's what Chandra Kirti supposedly says when I read, a teaching on this, that he's
Yeah.
really focused on that sixth bhumi.
Yeah. I think the beauty of this text is that we can we bring to it all that we are at the moment, and then can see in it what we're ready to work with. And it's just exquisite. I suppose any text is like that, even Dr. Seuss, right? We bring us to
Yeah.
the party, right, and influence it. But I see what you're pointing out is it's like all these different commenters have worked with this text and say, let's think of it this way and see how it helps us. And let's think of it that way. And I think the beauty is that none of them are saying it is this way. I hope I'm not implying that either. But that let's see if it can help us. How is it that this text can help us?
But there's a lot going on in this text because
Oh
you know,
my.
I'm in a speech class and they use the clip from Footloose, the movie, and the son uses the Bible to go against the preacher who's saying, you know, we shouldn't dance with the Bible, and then he's using the Bible to say we can dance. And I'm like, that's what this is. He's using the people's teachings to go against this stance that they have.
Yes.
And you know that you think a person comes from its five heaps. Well, you know, we're going to say that this, that, and the other thing that yeah, you know, it does, but there is no cause and effect, or there is no it's really coming from your seeds. It's not just coming from the five heaps, which is fine. That's fine.
Right.
But then when you go through these older texts, particularly Stanley's Abhidharma, whether it's the middle way one or the regular one, you could see how he's pulling from the Abhidharma to make a case for these people who believe these things.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. If we think we have some kind of nature of our own, and we believe that that nature makes me me. And what I mean by me, right? I'm locked in to what I mean by me. Then all the times I'm saying, I want to be a Buddha for all sentient beings, there's a part of my mind that either doesn't believe it can happen or isn't willing to do it to make that change in the next moment. Like there's this belief in my own true nature makes me believe, oh, I have to purify, I have to gather merit. It's going to take a long time. This transition has to chip away at this nature of me, when in fact, there is no such nature. I mean, technically, right, enlightenment is that fast.
But they're saying that we don't have the seeds to see that until we do all the good service. So
Exactly.
it's still a pertinent thing. Until we have the seeds to understand it, we have this huge problem. We believe things come from their own side, and we'll
Yeah,
keep coming back there. You know, I made the mistake yesterday. I told David he should like work out regularly, as if his body is coming from his own side. But
right.
you know, it's so ingrained in our society.
Yeah,
I don't know how to jump over to not thinking that because
right.
I guess I don't have the seeds to see it.
Right. 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 Yeah. I mean, we hit that at one point. Do we really believe that we can change? Like truly transform? And do we believe it could happen tomorrow? And then are we really ready to go? Like, are your bags packed? What if you got the call from the angel, right? 4 o'clock this afternoon, we're going to heaven. Like, would you go? Right? Your loved ones are at work, in school, you don't have time to call them. The angel shows up, right? They reaches out your hand. Would you go, wait, no, I have to call my husband? Because to have that thought, right, it's a blocker.
I mean, that's a fast one, right? They're there. if it was slower, maybe you would do everything you could to serve the people. I watched this video where this woman made all these dinners for her husband when she was dying because he didn't cook. And because she was in such service, she felt no pain. She didn't suffer. She didn't want any pain meds. And it was just fascinating. I was like, wow, she's not a Buddhist, but she's certainly using her desire to serve and help other people to lengthen and make ease that transition. And then I guess with Poa, if you can catch that tiny moment, it's that natural moment of emptiness. But it's easier if you lengthen it. If it's really quick, it's already really quick. But if you are able to like, oh, I see that when I pee, I hiccup. Oh, I see that everything start kind of turning white. If you see the stages and you can kind of get closer to that, maybe you'll actually catch that. Maybe not. But I know that the high lamas, they try to catch all the moments. They don't even it's like maybe Poa is a hard one, but they're still going to go for it because they want, they, they know about it, so they want to do it. And that's why you don't put someone down or kill someone because they believe in that long moment. But this thing isn't for everybody. I mean, I say that, maybe it's my seeds, but it's hard work.
Definitely. Let's take a break. So it seems like he has said, if causes and conditions make me, then me is a fabricated thing. Which would mean I have no nature, because to have a nature is to have something that's not dependent upon being fabricated. But if I don't have any nature, how can I be distinguished from something else? I would have to have something else nature, unfabricated. And that can't be, because it would depend upon the something else. So if we have to make a thing's nature out of something else, then it's not a nature. It's not the thing's nature, at least. The nature of something would have to always be there. And if a thing's nature is always there, how can different things with their own natures ever come together to make something else be? Something with a nature. So something that has its own nature could never be influenced by anything else that had their own natures. And yet, in our experience, things do influence other things. I influence other things. And we believe me with my own nature influences you with your own nature to come up with some third thing, right? Hopefully your enlightenment in this lifetime with its own nature somehow. Those who believe in natures that make things different things, those who hold that there are things, and those who hold that there are not, are those who will never see the truth as taught to us by the Buddha. So this is talking about the two extremes, right? Things exist in the way that we believe they do, their own identities in them, from them, so we can interact. Like, what would there be to interact with if you didn't have a nature of being you? And then, well, if you don't have that, if you don't have your own nature, well, then you can't exist at all. Which we say, oh, that's ridiculous, because there you still are. And yet, if you really watch your mind, when we say, whoa, Joanna has no nature, there's a part of my mind that falls off that cliff of, well, what is that thing then? Like, it doesn't exist at all. Even though that's not our experience, there's some kind of mental, I find, flops off into, well, then nothing. And so this verse is saying, if we're holding, it's got to be this way, and if not, then it's that way. Right? As long as we keep clinging to those two conclusions, either one, we're never going to understand what Buddha is saying. Never going to understand that middle way. You'd think this would be the end of the chapter, but it's not. We're only halfway through. Well, let's see where he goes. So, Janet, please.
The conqueror fully understood a thing, and that thing's absence. In his advices to Katyayana, he denied that things exist, and he denied that they do not exist.
How can things exist and not exist at the same time? No, how can they not? He denied that things exist. Things don't exist, but they don't not exist. What's he saying?
They exist, but not in the way that we think they do. There's some other
Right.
way.
Right. And so Joanna, 15.8, please.
If something existed by nature, it couldn't no longer be. And a nature that changed to something else makes no sense at all.
So if the seed is a seed by very nature, it could never not be a seed because that thing's nature is to be a seed. So either it's a seed. Well, I was going to say either it's a seed or it's not a seed, but he's saying it could never not be a seed if it's a seed now, because nothing could ever affect it. A nature can't change into something else. But we believe they do, don't we? We are so illogical. The nature of an orange seed is to make an orange plant, orange tree that makes more oranges. And that's what it is to be an orange seed. And see, here it is. That sounds so logical to me. But it can't be true. So is it possible that you could take a thing that we hold to be an orange seed and grow a tomato plant from it? Well, you know, I took a packet of wildflower seeds that I bought from a store once, and I broadcast them. And, you know, when I went back out there a couple of months later to see what was coming up, there were radishes and arugula.
Mm.
And what does our mind say? Oh, the package was right? The seeds. But wouldn't that mean that, you know, like that whole production phase of the manufacturer would have made hundreds of thousands of wrongly packaged seeds? I don't know, like the explanation is just as unreasonable as the experience. There never were any wildflowers coming up. And I did, like, I don't remember staring at the seeds because I do know the difference between a arugula seed and one of the wildflower seeds, although poppies look similar, but I don't remember looking at the seeds. I must have looked at them, right? But what I was seeing was flower seeds. How did their natures change? We say they didn't change. You had vegetable seeds all along. But I didn't. But I didn't have flower seeds either.
Or could it be that the fabricated nature that we spoke about or we read about earlier is the perception of our mind,
Right.
and hence we perceive a certain thing to be this way,
Right.
and it turned out different. So I presume when you bought the seeds, because of the labeling, so
Yeah.
you, okay, these are wallflower seeds. Hence, I scattered them.
Right.
But what came out was not it.
Right. Right.
So it's,
But are we thinking, oh, it was just a mistake, and what I really broadcast was vegetable seeds? Like, that's what I'm thinking.
mm,
But when I
but
dig deeper, it's like they were neither flower seeds nor vegetable seeds, right? They were just seeds, broadcasting seeds happening, and then arugula ripening happening when I was expecting poppies, right? It was just the evidence of this constant shape shifting. There were no flower seeds and there were no vegetable seeds. There were just my seeds ripening as seeds that I broadcast. And it's hard to come to that conclusion, right? Without thinking it through, which doesn't happen spontaneously enough to help my mind not first go to, oh, they were wrongly packaged. And every time I plant those seeds, I am perpetuating my misunderstanding of my world. Mm.
I can
and
feel my mind. Oh, sorry, Essie, just go.
so I'm thinking of, I mean, this shows that uh, when certain people they wish to plant or certain seeds, but the end result they receive is not what they expected.
Right.
So so many times they are, I would say, disappointed as they never make the connection that maybe the seeds we planted is not what is meant to
Right.
ripen because you have previous seeds.
Right.
That's what's going to ripen.
Right. Right. What were you going to say, Joanna?
Somehow, in my mind, the example of a person, like a bad person, came up. Like, there is a person, and I put the label out there, it's a bad person.
Mhm.
And then this person changes, and it's the nature. And then I feel my mind struggling that, yeah, I have so many reasons. He has done whatever programs, and then he developed himself, and his nature changed, and now he's a good person. Whereas I know him or her still as this bad person. And I somehow really, it's like I'm fabricating a lot.
Yeah.
So I am still in my mind going that the nature can be changed
Yeah.
because I see people change from good to bad, from bad to good, to whatever this means. But I see
Right.
them sliding along, and I still put it to the nature, and I still think that there's happenings or things that happened that came to that person, and so the person changed.
Right. No, I'm with you. I really am with you. It's like, okay, so if a nature can be changed, it does depend on something else, and so it's not a nature.
Yeah.
So
So there's
big deal, you know? Let's just call it something else. But it is a big deal. I guess because of what we're inherently thinking when we say something has its own nature. Even when we say, well, they can change that nature. Whose turn is it? Elsie.
1929. If something has no nature, what would be changing to something else? If something had a nature, how could it change into something else?
Okay, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Something else has to be going on here.
Our perception of them too.
Exactly. So just change your perception to everybody as Buddhas, you know? Just change your perception into your world as Buddha paradise.
Yeah, we can just assume that nature is a changing thing and then everything is okay.
Right.
Like I was just wondering, who said that the nature is not changeable? Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Who said so?
Wow. Where'd you go?
Oh, Janet, please.
If you say it exists, you believe it is unchanging. If you say it does not exist, then you believe it stopped. That's why the wise never remain in either existence or non-existence.
So think of it as your own nature, your own true nature, your own nature. The nature of me, independent me, different from everybody else. Me. And if we say that me, that nature me exists, I have that nature, then apparently implicit in that statement is our belief that it's unchanging, that me refers to something that is the same always. You know, and that starts my mind down a whole train. It's like, well, I am the same, but I'm the same and I'm different moment by moment, both at the same time. How's that possible? I'm always me, but my me is different moment by moment. And maybe there's a different language where you can describe that. But in English, I don't know that there's a way of saying I'm the same me, changing moment by moment. Can anybody come up with that?
Well, it's that animal, the chameleon.
Yeah,
The chameleon changes its colors.
yeah. Same chameleon, but changing. But the words, they're opposites. You're either the same or you're different. So he's saying for in an instant we say, me with my true nature, me exists, then I believe there's something about me that will always be that me. What's wrong with that? I think it's not just the me. Remember, there's the simple me, and then there's the me that is the label, and then there's the me that's the self-existent me, all the wrong ways. But simple me, that's accurate. I am not you. I am not the pen. I am me. But with that is me the same, me, my world coming at me, right? And that is the what I believe about my me when I say me exists, is that it's somehow unchanging, even as I know that my experience of my me is changing moment by moment, but the me stays the same. There. It's like we believe that my me stays the same even as my experience is changing. And if we then say, well, that me that stays the same even as it experiences other things, that can't exist, that doesn't exist, then I can't help but have an instant of, well, then, what am I? What is this? It's like, yeah, right? Of just as if I would disappear if I really got that I have no true nature, like directly. I must disappear. Because I would believe that my me stopped altogether. And neither one of those is accurate. He's saying here, that's why the wise never remain in either existence or non-existent. Right? That's middle way. How do we relate to ourselves in middle way? My own phrase that I've come up with is the me, never the same 2 moments in a row, but never not existent. But I can say the words, but I can't really feel it.
I try to pinpoint the word nature or me in the sense of I know my appearance is changing and my qualities and characteristics are changing, but I was thinking that if I really get down to what we call mainstream or Buddha nature, it seems unique and it must be unchanging. It's always there. It's empty of any nature. So it's like,
Right.
so there is like it's the most subtle level that I can try to find where this goes to. So there is something existing, but it's not existing in the way that I think. And it's nothing that I could experience or anybody else could experience. Because what we can experience with the senses and all that we have, it's only this changing things, that it's never 2 moments in a row the same. So, but there's still the clinging to some kind of uniqueness when it comes to the mainstream, or this
Yeah.
even though the Buddha
Yeah.
nature, we all have the same kind of Buddha, and the nature itself of a Buddha, it's not unique. We all not share, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong to say that it's the same Buddha nature. All of us have the same Buddha nature.
Identical Buddha nature.
Identical Buddha
Identical,
nature.
not the same, right?
Yeah. So I get stuck there on this level.
It's hard to identify as this process, seeds ripening, seeds planting, as opposed to identifying as the one who is the noun in the process. Yeah, it's like, again, a conclusion I came to a long time ago. It's like, wow, my me is really a verb. And it's like, if I could relate to me as a verb, I do better. Like
But we are unique processes then. So you are your process, I am my process, Elsie is Elsie's process.